I can't help but think that Stephen King must have watched this movie a few times while writing it. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today, we're going to be continuing my 007 review series with the 13th James Bond film, 1983's Octopussy. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Octopussy stars Roger Moore, Maud Adams, and Louis Jordan, and was directed by Glen. It tells the story of James Bond, played by Roger Moore, who's sent to investigate the murder of 009, which leads him to a smuggling ring operated by Octopussy, played by Maud Adams in her second different Bond girl role. I sincerely feel bad for anybody who saw this movie in theaters in 1983. Not because of the quality of the movie, but because they literally had to walk up to some teenager standing at a ticket booth and say, "One for Octopussy, please." What a terrible name. Roger Moore's facial expression the first time the name's mentioned in the film just about sums up how I feel about it as well. It's a terrible enough name for a character, but then to use the name for the film itself, at least they decided against using the name in the theme song for this one. Though I have to admit, I would be interested in hearing Shirley Bassey belting out Octopussy to the tune of Goldfinger. Fortunately, Octopussy is better than its name suggests. It's not a great Bond film, but it isn't at the bottom of the heap either. Must be the lack of murky underwater fight sequences. I was actually really on board with this one during the cold opening. It brought back some espionage elements of early Bond while throwing in a healthy dash of more humor and ridiculousness, so I was a little disappointed that it didn't eventually tie into the main story. The Fabergé egg plot of that main story is a little silly, but at least it remains engaging, even when things suddenly shift gears to a more dire nuclear weapons-based plot. While not completely off the rails like Moonraker, this movie isn't afraid to bring back some of the huge doses of goofy humor that were mostly lost in the somewhat bland For Your Eyes Only. There's a surprising amount of clown action in this movie, which is both entertaining and somewhat terrifying at the same time. Seriously, if a bloodied clown came crashing through my glass door at night, I probably wouldn't have handled it quite as well as the people in this movie did. There's also a very amusing tuk-tuk chase sequence in India, as well as a ridiculous, most dangerous game-esque jungle sequence that culminates in Bond swinging from vines while doing the Tarzan yell. Yeah, that really happens. In a Bond film. While more engaging than in For Your Eyes Only, Moore doesn't seem to have quite the easy charm that he showed in his early Bond films. He also seems a bit worn out, and his age starts to show at times, making some of his exploits somehow less convincing on the whole. Despite these hang-ups, the Bond action is about on par with previous efforts, and I'd be remiss not to mention that Bond seriously steps up his animal disguise game in this film. I thought the gull diving hat from Goldfinger was impressive, but he becomes a convincing crocodile, and a less convincing gorilla in Octopussy. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the fun action sequences. They're pretty silly for the most part, but it's all more fun silly than sigh and roll your eyes silly. The tuk-tuk chase is probably my favorite part of the movie because it manages to bring together a genuinely decent action sequence with so much Roger Moore humor and classic Bond puns. But not every sequence is over-the-top goofy, and this one has a pretty good train fight that balances a fairly serious plot point with a few good quips here and there. The second pro is the story. Now, it's possible I've always given this one a bit more praise than it truly deserves just because it follows up the story disaster that was For Your Eyes Only, but I think this one's pretty engaging. The whole Fabergé egg thing serves as a kinda silly MacGuffin, but things play out in an interesting way that at least sort of makes sense. The end gets a little weird, combining nuclear weapons and a circus, but I think we can safely chalk that up to the Bond franchise's ongoing third act curse. On the con side, I really only have one issue with this movie. Like I said, it's not the best Bond or anything, but the only thing that truly bothers me every time I watch it is the name. It's just so bad. I know it was a name originally devised by Ian Fleming, but still, anytime it's said in this movie, it just pulls me out of it. And I hate trying to research things about this film because I do not feel confident typing Octopussy into Google. Like I said before, Bond's initial reaction to the name just about sums up my feelings too. I'm gonna give Octopussy 3 out of 5 paws. It's not the best Bond, and it's not even among my favorites from the Moore era, but it's got some fun moments and is a pretty solid, low, mid-tier Bond film. I would recommend Octopussy to people who like Moore era Bond. I don't think I'd recommend that anybody start their Bond journey here, but if you like the goofy movies that aren't too over-the-top ridiculous, this would be a good one to work your way towards after watching some of the better Moore era Bond films. If you liked Octopussy, I would recommend the 7th Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever, for another smuggling-centric plot. It was Connery's last Eon-produced Bond film, and I'd say it was even goofier than this movie. If you really like the train fight, I've definitely got to recommend the 23rd Bond movie, Skyfall. That movie opens with a really impressive rooftop train fight that's somewhat reminiscent of the fight scene here. I would also recommend Goldfinger, the 3rd Bond movie. The plot isn't overly similar, but there's an undeniable naming and situational link between the two girls. Goldfinger's Bond girl is Pussy Galore, who operates an all-female flying circus. Octopussy's Bond girl is Octopussy, who inexplicably also owns a circus, this time of the non-flying variety. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Octopussy? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what movie features the most ridiculously named character? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.